Well, hello. Welcome to another episode of the Church Leadership Lab, where our goal is to have conversations that empower healthy churches. It is a privilege to get to do that. And so we hope today's conversation helps you as a church leader. We are your hosts, Scott and Casey, and we love getting to do this podcast. Casey, how are you doing today? I like to think of a unique question.
I hate this.
A few episodes ago,
me out so bad.
I know. A few episodes, I gave you the intro to do off out of nowhere.
I know.
Apologize for putting you on the spot.
You don't apologize. Don't act like you apologize.
We kind of have a theme of ruining the mysterious time that these were recorded. So
I can tell you something.
We're just past Good Friday, Easter. How was that for you? The whole Holy Week, the Easter weekend, everything.
It was so good. For the first time, this was kind of a new thing for me. Led worship for like half my life. So Easter weekend is, I hate this analogy, but it's the Super Bowl where you go to work and it is like, how many services do we have this year? 15? Cool. Let me, carb up or whatever. But for the first time this year, did a Good Friday service that was completely different. I'm at a very modern, church, but Friday was very liturgical. All these readings and completely different, just like a reading and then a song, but not a traditional, like all the drums and, fog machine type of stuff that we're a little bit used to. It was a complete departure for what I'm used to. And I loved it. I really, really loved it. Our pianist, she's incredible. She was singing this gorgeous song and I forgot that, the mics are hot. And I got emotional. So like between services, we were in the green room. I'm like, Emma, sis, you made me cry. She was like, I heard somebody sniffing and I couldn't tell who it was. It was me. So I'm just sitting on stage forgetting that, there's people watching and listening. And I'm just sitting there. It's so beautiful. But it was really nice. It was really good.
Sometimes the simplest services are
simple is good.
Powerful.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, today we are having a conversation with Dirk Smith. We get to talk about what does it look like to engage donors? What does it look like to look at the finances, stewardship, fundraising, all of that, and to do it well? Now, Dirk serves as the vice president at Eastern European Mission, where he's responsible for the oversight of fundraising, marketing, and assisting with the U.S. operations. He joined EEM following a highly successful tenure as a development officer with his alma mater, Harding University. He's also worked in business development and revenue generation. He holds a bachelor's in mathematics and an MBA focusing on organizational development and ethics. Dirk was married to his beautiful, spirit-filled wife, Wendy, for 34 years. Wendy battled ALS for 4 years and went to her perfect rest on January 9th, 2023. Dirk resides in the greater Nashville area and is a dad to 3 adult children, Taryn, Tyler, and Trevor. Dirk, welcome to the Church Leadership Lab.
Scott, Casey, thanks. Good to be with you guys.
Yeah, it's really good to have you here. We're looking forward to this conversation. Now, before we jump into talking about all things fundraising, donors, that whole world, I do have a question that we ask everybody. What's something that doesn't make the public bio that all your friends, all your family would know about you?
Yeah, that's always a good one. Probably the thing that doesn't make the bio is born and raised in the greater Philadelphia area. So I'm a huge Philadelphia sports fan. So yes, I bleed a little Eagle green. But I'm also a very unique guy because the first 11 years of my career I spent in healthcare consulting, and that was in the Dallas area. So all 3 of my kids were born in Dallas. So when you move to Dallas as an Eagle fan, that's a little tough. Yeah, that's not
a
little challenging, but it was nice because when I got there, the Cowboys were really, really bad, kind of like they are now.
They often are.
Yeah. And it was their 1 in 16 years when they got Troy Aikman, and they were doing that whole rebuild, which was absolutely magical. I mean, it was, from a person like myself, it was fun to watch them building this organization. I thought, this is kind of neat. This is fun. So I kind of got to be a fan a little bit, so I'm like the only guy that I've got a sports memorabilia collection that I don't pay for any of it. It's kind of one of my hobbies, but I'm like the only guy that's got Eagles and Cowboys, so I've got Troy Aikman, I've got Emmitt Smith, and I've got, then I've got all the prominent Eagles, so people come in and they see my man cave and they go, man, what is going on here? This is confusing.
Help.
You got Eagles and Cowboys on the same wall. Do they fight with each other up there? What's happening?
Yeah.
So
what I hear, Dirk, is that you're a peacemaker. You bring people together. You bring enemies together. And
it's sports and it's fun. And I enjoyed that. And then watching them go through their Super Bowl wins, it was I give them credit. So it's all good.
Nice.
That's perfect. We talk sports a lot. So like you are, I love that you brought that in. Like
I didn't want to know. I didn't know how much we go sports, but I'm a pretty hard sports guy. So, I grew up playing hockey, in Philadelphia. So that was another thing being in Dallas, the Minnesota North Stars moved to Dallas when I was there. And so I was in business. I had my own company. And so I convinced my two partners because they offered this incredibly cheap season ticket package because nobody knew what hockey was. They were trying to get people in. I literally had people ask me if it was WWF on ice. And I said, are you kidding me? No, that's not what it's about. No. So I started taking clients to Stars games and
Nice.
And our office at the time was in Valley Ranch. And so you had the Cowboys practice facility and you had the Stars practice facility, and where there was a workout facility right there that I was a member of. And so the Stars would come in and out of there. So I got to be friends with a lot of those guys. So it's hockey was, and I'm still a Stars fan. I'm a Flyers fan, but I'm probably more of a Stars fan. So sorry for my Philadelphia people. I kind of converted over to the Stars, but sports is fun. You see good leadership, and I love I support good players. And when I say good, I don't just mean their athletic prowess. I mean their character. Yeah. And there were guys on the Cowboys that you just couldn't help. So back to that, Troy Aikman, great guy, always an upstanding guy, met him numerous times, super nice guy. Emmitt Smith, just class act. Absolute class act. Now, there's guys on the Cowboys, you won't find them on my wall. It's such a position. You're seeing more of the players today who are believers recognizing I've got a platform here. This is God's gifts. These are not my gifts. God's given these to me. And as a believer, I've got a responsibility because there are a lot of eyes watching them. And I appreciate the guys that do that are people of character, people who are true, authentic disciples. So
nice. Well, Troy Aikman is from Oklahoma, so of course he is a person of character.
Oh, is that what makes him? Are you an Okie? Are you an Okie, Casey? Yeah. Well, yeah. You said you're in Tulsa. I didn't know if you were from there. But,
I am.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
we don't have a lot of them, so we have to know who our celebs are, who made it out and made it big. Most of them are country music, but we've got some athletes in there too. So I will allow this Aikman fandom as a fellow.
There you go, fellow Okie.
Well, maybe we will have a separate episode all about our favorite athletes and the ones that we can put up on the wall. I like that. Are they wall worthy?
Yeah.
That's really cool. But all right, I am a little bit intimidated by your bachelor's in mathematics, but that's also probably contributing to some of where you are able to tap into this world of donor management. You understand the mathematics behind how it all works. So would love to shift into what you do and why you're here today, really talking about engaging and communicating with donors. So if we can kind of shift in that a little bit, clearly donors are hugely important to the work of a church or a nonprofit. So let's start from the very beginning. What are some of the absolute fundamental pieces of donor engagement that you see organizations often might miss?
Yeah. Number one, just very foundationally, people give to people. They give to people. And they don't give to sinking ships. They give to opportunity. Donors are investors. So if I invest in a company if I put my for-profit hat on, I'm going to invest in a company that's going to give me a good ROI. Where's my exit strategy? Where's my liquidity event in this? For a donor, that ROI is here. It's deep. It's in my heart. So don't tell me the numbers. Tell me the stories. Tell me the lives that are being transformed. Tell me how my gift, which is God's money, is advancing the kingdom and making a difference. So, but it's all about relationship. And so often we forget that donors they have to trust. They have to trust the organization. They have to trust you. And so it's going to be built on relationship. And oftentimes we run into it too quickly. We don't develop the relationship. We don't let them learn, and we don't talk to them enough to tell them the stories, to give them the feedback, and to get them in a real relationship. The beauty of this work, and Casey, I came kicking and screaming into this work because I was coming from a consulting background. And when it was first presented, hey, with my alma mater, we need somebody to help us with major gifts, be a fundraiser. And I thought, man, I'd rather run razor blades up my fingernails. Who wants to do that? And then the reality, after having probably one of the best mentors anybody could have in fundraising, which was, I'll give him a shout. He passed last year, Dr. Bob Walker, who is the senior vice president of development at Texas A&M. Just a great, great spirit-led man. But you realize that it's going to take 3 years. And that's why we say, when you move someplace, you move to a new town, it's going to take you 3 years to really make that feel like home. Because it takes that long to develop relationships and for people to get to know you and you to get to know them. So oftentimes we're impatient with donors. We ask too soon. And we haven't given them the opportunity to get to know us. And so it is the person, it's the fundraiser, but it's the organization too. And to make them a part of the family, because they are. They are a part of the family. Without them, the mission doesn't happen.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you're in ministry, then church operations can be a huge challenge. There's a lot to do, little time to do it, and whether it's just you or you have a team, my guess is you have a full plate. So how do you do things like communication and engagement, stewarding your finances, managing your digital presence, fostering community, and so much more in a way that builds a healthy church? Well, answering that question was the goal of creating the Guide to Healthy Church Operations. We wanted to take our 40 plus years of experience serving the church, combined with wisdom from various experts to provide a blueprint for how you can navigate the ever-changing world of church operations. In this guide, you'll find things like how to improve member engagement and participation, building into staff and volunteers, making better decisions with clear metrics, the essentials of financial stewardship for churches, and so much more. And of course, we wanted to give this to you for free. So there's a link in the show notes to download the Guide to Healthy Church Operations. And we would love for you to grab a copy and use it to help grow a healthy church. I'm curious, what are some ways to build that relationship that you've seen really effective? There's a lot that people can do, but just give us a few of those ways that you've found really tend to work.
Well, face-to-face interaction is a key. So even though, our organization, we've grown and we're not a huge organization, but we'll raise about $8.5 million this year. I interact with every one of our high-end donors. They know me, I know them, and I know who their spouses are. I know their kids. I know their lives because they're part of the family. They're part of the organization, and they're doing what they can do that I can't do, and I'm doing what they can't do. And so we make sure and remind them of that and let them know how important they are. And then it's sharing stories. just giving them frontline stories. Let me tell you about this little girl that got a Bible, and she's a Ukrainian refugee, and they're fleeing the bombing, and she doesn't understand. She's 8 years old, and mom writes us this letter, and she got a children's Bible of ours, and she's reading these stories to her, and they're stories of hope. And she wants to read it every day. And then she sends us a picture of the little girl sleeping with her Bible. She doesn't want to let it go. Well, we send that out to our donors and say, you did this. You did this. This little girl has hope because of you, because you listen to the Spirit move in your heart and say, man, what's the downside of giving somebody a Bible in their language who's never had one? I mean, that's hope.
Yeah.
So it's sharing with them and making it very, very personal. They can't be on the front line. They can't hear these, but bring them into it.
Yeah. That's really good. I think especially for church leaders, man, that can almost be easier in some ways as far as logistics, because you can clearly show people, hey, here's, as you give, as you participate in generosity, this is what you're doing. This person who just came to faith or is getting plugged into the church, like all of this was enabled by the support. I think that's really good. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and part of that, like with churches, and you have this with larger organizations, like when I worked for higher education, you got to raise money for a building.
Yeah.
But don't talk about the building.
Right.
Don't show architectural drawings. Don't talk about what's going to happen there. Talk about whose lives are going to be transformed. And I'll never forget we were working on a nursing building at the university, and I just went out and talked about students. I mean, had student stories. This student got the highest scholarship to Vanderbilt. Just think how many other students are going to be able to have that if they have better facilities, and they have, and with better facilities come better professors and better, it's all about the students. And then what kind of Christian nurse is that going to be? How many lives are they going to change and affect for the kingdom? It's because it's not about the building. It's really not about the building. Again, if our churches are doing good things, I see a lot of churches that build stuff, and I'm like, what's happening in there? Is that is that getting use? I don't know about that. So that becomes very challenging. And I've said for a long time, I have to believe 100% in what I'm doing to talk to people about it, because they do have discretionary. They choose where they give, and so you have to be thankful too that they've chosen to partner with you.
Yeah. There might be some overlap in your answer to the next question, but I know that you helped EEM increase donations significantly in your time there. Could you just help us understand what were some of the key factors in seeing this growth?
First was when I came into the organization, we were 90% gifts from churches, meaning we were in church budgets, and 10% individuals. We are now 95% individuals and maybe 1% churches, and the other would be foundations that aren't family foundations. If it's a family foundation, I consider that an individual, because that's an individual heart. Because here's the deal. Churches don't have hearts. Now, if we look at the term the way Jesus intended it, they do, because the church is the people. Right. But the people have a heart. So if God puts EEM on the heart of Casey or Scott, and Casey picks up, and heaven forbid she leaves Oklahoma and isn't an Okie anymore, and she goes somewhere else, she takes the passion for EEM with her. And she, just like we do as believers in Jesus, which we should be doing, we talk about it with other people, and we make more disciples. And so then they share it with their friends. Man, you've got to know about EEM. They're giving Bibles. I mean, what's more foundational than that? I mean, that's the bottom line. Give somebody a Bible and let the Spirit do the work. And so that was a natural progression. getting away from and spending our time with the people, spend the time with the individuals and talk to them. The other thing was just building a strategy. I mean, when I came in, there really was not much of a strategy on, okay, how do we grow? With anything, you have to put a business plan in place and you got to build a strategy. And fundraising is very much that way. I mean, where are the areas of growth that we want to take place? Well, who are our donors that are giving to that? Let's go talk to them. Let's go challenge them in those areas, and share the good stories with them. So it's an intentionality of building a plan and then working that plan.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so curious about that. So there's a huge shift. You said that was like 90 to 10 to like the exact opposite. Mm-hmm. How much time do you think it took to make that shift? Sorry.
Yeah. It took a while. Yeah. Again, my analogy is if you come into an organization and you're headed this direction and you need to be headed 180 degrees the other way. I don't really care how, unless it's a really, really small organization, a mom and pop shop, you can turn on a dime. Mm-hmm. But if it's of any size at all, you have to view it like an ocean liner. Yeah. And you don't spin the wheel and get to the 180 degree direction you need to be going because you capsize the boat and you kill everybody. Sure. And you don't want to do that. So you notch it, very slowly and you make that turn. So we began looking at the low hanging fruit, Casey, and just saying, okay, how do we do this? And it was changing our messaging, changing where we spent our time. Yes, we still went into churches and used that as a platform, but we changed verbiage like, I'm not coming here to ask to get in your budget. I don't want to get in your budget. I just want to tell the amazing stories that God is doing, to his people. And it will be uplifting. And we would go in and speak, and it was. I mean, we would come away and the churches would say, oh, man, that was so uplifting, man, to hear these stories. It was great. And then individuals would come and hand you a check. Well, you don't follow up with the church. You follow up with the individual. They handed you a check. Go see them, talk to them, thank them, and tell them more. They're raising their hand and saying, tell me more about this. I want to know more. Yeah. So that didn't happen overnight. It took, Casey, I would say, to really see the change. It took 3 years. We saw it in about 3 years, where we looked at it and said, wow, that's a noticeable change. And then we just kept in that direction. We kept tweaking things and looking at areas of low hanging fruit. I'm not a big event person. When I came into EEM, it was horrific. I mean, they were doing these things they called dinners, and they did them all across the country. And we was in hotels and everybody's eating rubber chicken, and it was just bad. It was just bad. And so I got a P&L on that, and I looked at it and I said, oh, no. I mean, we're raising, we're raising a dime. I mean, we're spending 90 cents to raise a dime. Whoa, exactly. You're not going to do that. And so we tweaked it, and we got out of hotels, and again, focusing on the people, the individuals. How do I talk to the people better? And we did change those and got them to where it was 90-10 the other way. We were spending a dime to raise 90 cents, but still that was a dime that was going out the door that I really didn't. And I mean, we created it in such a way that then I could show that 90% of the gifts were coming from people that weren't coming to the events. Mm-hmm. So what am I doing the events for? What is that about? Yeah. And so then you take that time that you're spending, all the work, the logistics, and putting on these events and getting behinds and seats, and you could be out with the people, talking to them and sharing with them. Yeah. So it really transformed that. COVID helped a lot because COVID killed it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, thank you, sacred cow. I can shoot and put out of its misery. So
there were some benefits to the world shutting down and us having to do things differently, but that kind of leads to another question I want to ask. That some of this is really obvious, but I want to talk about technology, but specifically how technology can help us engage with donors. obvious things come to my mind, like a CRM, digital giving, all of those things. But what is maybe, because you could take any number of a dozen pieces of technology and go, well, here's the obvious ones, but maybe what is one or two like key things that for you from donor engagement and actually growing that, not just the dollar amount, but the connectivity back to the mission? How does technology play the most important role in that?
Yeah, and it is key. As long as we can see technology harm because
Sure.
we become very impersonal with technology. We can allow technology to take the relationship away. So my key has always been, let's look at technology and look at how it enhances the personal relationship development and that donor development. So CRM is critical because my brain, I can't remember. So take notes, set reminders. Yes, I want to talk to them about this because it helps build that relationship. Now I do remember eventually, but you also have to set it up so that what happens if something happens to Dirk Smith and he's gone?
Right.
Somebody comes in, they got to be able to know exactly where things are and what did this person give to, and detailed notes and all the reminders. So yes, CRM is a given. But within CRM packages now, like we have one that embeds a video in emails. So I can do personal videos to donors. So I can sit down and their name is right there. I know who they are. I know what they gave to, and I can do it instantaneously. And I can talk directly to them. I can say, John and Sally, thank you so much. Man, I hope you guys are doing good. I haven't seen you in a long time. I'm hoping to get out and see you. Just got your gift. Thank you. Let me tell you what that did. You just provided X number of Bibles. And I can send that out, personal email from me, and it's instantaneous. Goes out and it's embedded in the video. It's compressed, so it doesn't take up a lot of space. So that's a great use of technology because it's very personal. You personalize it.
Yeah.
There are some technologies that I've seen that I don't, I had a guy that is no longer with us, but he announced in one of our meetings that he had found a robodial, and he was robodialing. And I said, no, you're not. Oh, no, you're not. No, that is not happening. How many of us, just on the front end, how many of us love sales calls? We hate that.
Yeah.
We hate some random number coming in like, who? I'm not answering this. I don't even know who this is. So again, when you call people, hey, if you don't have my number, save my number. Like I changed my number. So I sent out an email to hey, I've got a new phone number. When this comes up, it's me, and making sure they know, again, just as personal as you can, but you can use mass emailing, but if you personalize it and make it very, very personal and go in and personalize each and every one of those. But yeah, technology can really help us in a lot of ways, but if it ever makes it impersonal, back away. Just back away from it. Don't sacrifice relationship. I kind of chuckled, during COVID when everybody said, well, man, with COVID's really entered in this, Zoom and these video meetings. There are going to be no more personal face-to-face. Business travel is going to just end. Airlines are going to be in so much trouble. I wouldn't invest in airlines. They're going to be in trouble. They're just going to shut down, and restaurants and And I thought, you're crazy. You're absolutely out of your mind, because, if we were face to face and we had this conversation and it's, 10:30 in the morning and it goes and, we're together and it goes well. And I look at you guys and go, hey, you guys got lunch plans? No, we don't. Hey, let's go to lunch.
Right.
Yeah.
How much more relationship building happens not like this and just sitting around breaking bread together? That's why Jesus talked about that so much, So it's about relationships. So yes, all technology has to be viewed from the sense of, does it enhance the personal relationship? If it doesn't, if it begins to make it impersonal and cold, get rid of it. Just get rid of it.
That's good.
Which speaks to kind of the, even some of the things you were saying earlier in the conversation, right? That people give to people and not necessarily to organizations, and so having that connection is huge. Yeah. Now, I know that one thing that church leaders often, I think, struggle with is sort of the mentality around, man, there's not enough, or there's kind of a limited pool that, you know, that we're pulling from, and a bit of a scarcity mindset. And it's, you know, it's really easy to kind of lead from that place. How can, especially when we talk about stewardship, generosity, giving, all of that, how can church leaders shift and function out of a mindset of abundance?
Man, Scott, that's such a great question, you know, because if we're believers, how dull what must we be to not grasp that is Jesus's message from the get-go. It's God's message. I mean, you go back to the children of Israel, you know, and as they're in the desert, he feeds them with all they want, all they need. But then he says, don't stockpile it. Don't be saving this up. Trust me. I mean, that's his initial statement of trust me. I'm going to provide. So don't live in fear. I'm going to provide. Jesus, first miracle. I mean, water into wine. And then he makes 900 bottles of the good stuff, you know,
Good one.
And I mean, it's top shelf. And and there's too much. I mean, just shows his abundance. When he feeds the 5,000, he feeds the 3,000, there's leftovers. Of course, it is great that it's 12 baskets full of 12, you know, the 12 tribes. I mean, all the imagery that's there. But I mean, he shows I'm a God of abundance. So yeah, I will tell you without a doubt. I mean, I can say this 100%. A church that trusts and operates out of a mentality of abundance and that abundance of God's blessings, they will see abundance. They will see more, and they will see an engaged membership. They will see an engaged church because they're talking about what they're doing. Give you one example of a church. It's here in Murfreesboro, and they highlight a ministry every month. Well, 9 of 12 months. So 9 of 12 months, they highlight a nonprofit, a ministry, and ask their members to give to them. And they set a goal for that nonprofit. Their goal is to, you know, help X number of unwanted pregnancies, you know, and to help these girls and to educate them. And here's what it costs, you know, for education and take care of that unwanted, you know, the unwed mom and the baby and et cetera. So here's $50,000. I mean, so on average, every ministry that they highlight raises anywhere from $50,000 to $60,000 at the encouragement of the church. They do a video of them at the beginning, and this church, they're always over budget in their own giving. Why is that? It's because the people sitting say, we're not just giving to a building. We're not giving to that guy's salary. I mean, and we all recognize he needs to feed his family and have a house payment. We know it's going to take money, but we're advancing the kingdom. We're about kingdom work, and we're following a leadership that recognizes that we serve a God who not can do, but is doing more than we could ever ask or imagine. And so to not feel like, I mean, I work for a nonprofit. Does all of my charitable giving go to EEM? No.
Right.
No, it doesn't. And so why would I think as a church leader, well, I don't want this ministry coming in because that's going to divert funds that would be coming to our church to that ministry. No. See, God's people give extra. They don't take away from what they're giving to the church. They say, man, this is a great ministry. And our leadership wants me to know about that. And I get to be a part of this. Yeah. And they look at their spouse or whoever, or if it's just on their own, and they say, I'm going to be a part of this. I'll never forget it. We were highlighted at a church like this, and I was in the back, and this young kid. Well, I get this gift. It comes in. I see it's $3,000, which first time gift. I'm like, that's a nice gift. So I reached out to the person. I just said, hey, I don't know you. Would love to meet you, and tell you thank you. And so, again, it's this mindset of what this church was doing. And so this guy responds, he says, yeah, I'll come back and meet you. And so I'm standing at the back, and we had a little booth. This church was great. We had a little booth set up there. And so me and one of my colleagues was there. And I mean, this kid comes walking up. I mean, he looks like really young, and he comes walking up and he says, hi, and he says the name. And I go, my first thought was,
no.
Oh yeah, Casey. My first thought was,
no, you're not.
Does your dad know where you are? I mean, holy smokes, you're young. And I'm thinking, $3,000. Where did you get that? Then I'm nervous. Where did you get that money? I mean, you needed that money. $3,000. That's a lot of money for somebody your age. And so I said to him, hey, don't take this the wrong way. I'm sure you hear this. I said, but you're obviously a lot older than you look. And he goes, oh yeah. I get it all the time. I'm much older. I hear it. And I said, yeah. And he goes, yeah, I'm 23. And I was like, nope, that's kind of what I thought, man. I was like, oh my gosh. So then I asked him, I said, if I can just ask you, what made you want to give to EM? I mean, that's a thank you. It's a great gift. And I told him how many Bibles it provided. And he said, well, I mean, if my church believes in this, number one, I trust it. And he said, and number two, I mean, don't take this the wrong way, but he said, I mean, you guys are giving out Bibles, right? And I said, yeah. He said, I just don't know how anybody could screw that up.
Oh, wow.
And I said,
I love that.
I said, can I quote you on that? But again, his first statement was, my leadership believes in this.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what he gives to that church, but I guarantee you, well, then I find out he's not just 23. He's a 23-year-old genius who has started his own company, and it's a multi-million-dollar company.
Mm.
He's got resources, and he's saying, yeah, I want to be a part of this. But where does it start? Yeah. My leadership.
Yeah.
And it's again, us preaching that faithfulness and that abundance mentality that, man, God is going to provide. And I'll tell you guys, 100% of the time, the churches that operate, when they have us come in, or I see them have other ministries come in, and they highlight other ministries that are doing good things. I mean, they vet them. Yep. They make sure this is a good ministry. They're always above budget. They're always above budget. Not some of the time, all of the time.
But I feel like, first of all, I love everything about that story, because it hits all of the right things to do, from the church to donor engagement to the donor. I mean, like, everything about that, it's not that hard, but it kind of goes back to what you were saying about shifting from the 90-10 to the 10-90. That took a very intentional, cultural, strategic shift for your organization to say, this is how we're going to operate. So that church, or the churches that have that non-scarcity mindset, or we're going to highlight things that have nothing to do with us technically, but of course they do. That's not easy, but it is intentional and strategic from that leadership perspective. And I love when people just start doing, like, it works. I go, of course it does, because that's God math, not us math. And exactly. I love that, which I hope that this leads to exactly where I think that you'll take it. But we ask everyone the same ending question before we get into our rapid fires. We're not done yet, but one final question. From where you sit, and in your opinion, what is one essential component of a healthy church?
Authenticity. Absolutely authentic. Man, stop the show. Stop the show. We have got to be real. Jesus was real. I mean, if you look at Jesus was not flashy. Jesus was not showy. Jesus was real. And he loved people. He got down in the dirt. People are messy. I'm messy. I mean, I've always said, man, if that church is perfect, well, it's not now, because I'm there. So it just fell off the map. People are messy. Our lives are messy. It's why Jesus promised us, hey, in this life, you're going to have trouble. You're going to have trouble. It's why he created the church. So the church doesn't need to be about the show. It needs to be about the relationship. It needs to be about the family, and be a family. You've heard the thing. We need to be more like a hospital. We need to be taking in people. Everyone's welcome. I mean, nobody is not welcome here. And then to just be as authentic as we possibly can as leaders, to say, I don't have it all together, man. I've got issues in my life. I struggle with things, and we all do. And by the grace of God, and the power of his Spirit, he overcomes, but only when I give up and I let go and I don't try and control it and I don't try and put up on this facade. I mean, we've seen so many church leaders fall, and and rather than crucify them, rather than vilify them, our hearts should break for them, and they should immediately, be added to our prayer list, and we should want to engage with them in a very meaningful way. You're hearing my German Shepherd. If you're hearing that, are you hearing that in the background?
Yeah.
She's pitiful. She's 95.
She agrees with you.
Oh my word. Somebody is obviously at my door or something. And I should have closed my office door. She's singing, but that's the challenge for us is to be truly, truly authentic, and to not try and put on a show. And that doesn't mean the way that, Casey, you talked about earlier, the liturgical, style. Doesn't mean that. I mean, that can be very meaningful, but it means the people that are up there, are they engaging in a meaningful way?
Right.
It's about what happens as church. So that would be the one word I would throw to it, is authentic, is just be real. Just be real.
Yeah.
As messy as possible. I love it.
Yeah. It's messy. Get your hands dirty. I mean,
go get dirty.
Yeah. Go get dirty. And don't give up on people. Again, back to the fundraising. It takes 3 years to build a relationship. Well, don't think you're going to get involved with somebody. And I mean, God forgive us if we engage with somebody and we go, oh, that's too messy. That's too complicated. And we back away. No, that's where we dig in. I'm convinced when I'm uncomfortable someplace, that's probably right where God's calling me. He's calling me into that, to say, trust me on this, and just stay with me. The reminder, I guess, for me is God's always hanging on to me. The times I fail is when I let go of him. He's always holding on to me. He's never letting me go. But I can let go of him, and I can almost push him away. Hang on to him and walk into that, because he's walking with you, and he's going to give you the peace, and he's going to give you the comfort, and he's going to work this. It's not about you. You're not doing this. Yeah. He's doing it.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Well said. Yeah. Well said. Well, we will transition now, if we could, into our rapid fire.
That's a scary word, but okay, here we go.
I know.
Rapid fire.
It's not as scary as it sounds.
Okay.
It's been such a great conversation, and we like to cap it off with some of these quick ones coming at you. First one is this: what is one book that you would recommend to church leaders?
Oh, to church leaders, I would say Third Conversion. The Third Conversion is a book that anybody who is involved with people, if it's fundraising associated on, it's just really relational. Third Conversion. Great book.
Nice.
Number 2, what is the last thing you listened to? Spotify, Apple, whatever.
Podcast, Truth Over Tribe.
Okay.
Nice.
Is there a quote or piece of wisdom that has really stuck with you and guided you throughout the years?
Yeah, there's a couple. If I can do a couple. One is, and it sits on my desk right here, it's one my grandfather gave me who was personal history. I lived with my maternal grandparents till I was like 4, and they were Jewish. So half of me is Jewish. My grandmother was a Christian. She converted him. So they were Christians as far as I knew, but Jewish by nationality. And he was awarded Jewish Businessman of the Year in his certain community in New York City in 1972. And I'll never forget, he gave me this little thing. It said something, you've heard it, I'm sure, this poem, "Don't quit. You know, when things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging skins all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to smile, but you have to sigh. You never can tell how close you are. It may be near, though it seems so far, but stick to the fight when your hardest hit. It's when things seem worst that you must not quit." And just a reminder that, hey, and he put on the back of it, he brought it into God. And so that's my thing is, so my quote that I tell people is, you want to know what God's will for your life is? God's will for your life is glorify him regardless of your earthly circumstances. That's what God's will for your life is. And so that's what I would tell people. Hang on to him. He's got you. And no matter what's going on.
It's great. All right. Last one. What is one thing that you'd like to communicate to our audience of church leaders?
Authentically love people. Just love people. Love people like Jesus did. I mean, if we get anything from Jesus, it's loving people. You know, in every scenario, every interaction, you see him take the road and the path of love. Sometimes it wasn't great when he drove the money changers out of the temple, but that was all about love. It was subjugation was happening, and he protected those in subjugation. So that would be mine, is just truly authentically love whoever God puts in your path.
Yeah, that's good. Well, just as we wrap, can you share, just if people would like to learn more about Eastern European Mission, what you guys are up to, can you share where people can do that?
Yeah, absolutely. EEM.org, pretty easy. EEM.org is our website. And right now we're in the midst of a matching fund campaign we call Bibles for Kids. And it's for the purpose of funding 570,000 children's Bibles, children's and teen Bibles going into 21 different languages. I always have to remember how many languages are going into. But it's a matching fund campaign. So the goal is to raise 2.8 million, 2.85. And we've had anonymous donors step up and say, hey, we'll match dollar for dollar. So typically $5 provides one Bible. Now $5 provides 2. So they can go there and learn all about it. There's videos on there, but EEM.org. Also our podcast, 5511 podcast. It's 55:11 for Isaiah 55:11. That's what it stands for, but would love to have them follow our podcast as well.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll link to both and point people in those directions, and just so appreciate, Dirk, your time today, pouring your wisdom, experience into church leaders, and certainly so appreciate the work that you all are doing as well. And thank you to those of you listening or watching this. We are grateful for you. Our hope is that this conversation has encouraged you, challenged you, taught you something, and ultimately will help you lead better and help empower healthy churches. If this conversation has done that, we'd love for you to share it, whether you send a link, whether you subscribe, whether you leave a review, a comment. All those things just help us get these conversations into more church leaders' ears. So we certainly appreciate it. We're glad and thankful for you, and we are looking forward to being with you next time.
This episode of the Church Leadership Lab podcast is brought to you by Ministry Brands, the largest provider of church technology software. Over 90,000 churches rely on Ministry Brands for their single platform solution that brings together all the digital tools a church needs. From online giving to websites to church management software and more, Ministry Brands is leading the way in simple to use, innovative solutions, all with the goal of empowering healthy churches. To learn more, visit ministrybrands.com.